What's up, you guys? It's Frank the Tank, and welcome to week number 4 of this Winter League series. So, we're a week removed from that terrible performance from last week, and I can honestly say that that right there was me being completely lost. Yeah, my mental game was in shambles. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was missing spares. Form was poor. Everything about that week was just me being completely lost. And I can honestly say, yeah, I bowled like complete garbage. And I think that's a normal thing. It happens to everybody. I mean, my PSO, he's a fantastic bowler. He averages 235 in league. And even he has admitted to me that he has that one or two nights that he bowls like complete garbage. Happens to all of us. We're human. So, anyway, yeah, after that night, I realized I just needed to take a much needed rest because there was a part of me that felt like I was probably just trying way too hard and I've been practicing way too much. So I felt like I just needed to take a much needed rest. And while taking that rest, I did look back at the video to see like what I was doing wrong, what I could have done better, things like that. Obviously, my spare game needed to be, I needed to bring that up to code. I needed to practice my spares. My form being poor, I feel like that had to do with a timing issue. Definitely wanted to work on that. There was something else in there, but I'm not really going to explain it because I just, I don't want to go on for like a bunch of minutes trying to explain this stuff. But there was something in there that I realized that I wasn't doing. It was something about me, like, and my swing and how it kind of got in the way of my hips, and that swing wasn't really clearing the hips, and that was because I wasn't really turning my body as much. But I'm not going to get into detail about that. But yeah, I definitely worked on that in practice, and it definitely helped. Yeah, also my footwork, I kind of cleaned that up a little bit as well. And I'm not really sure what else, but yeah, like I said, I took my much needed rest and it definitely helped because when I went back to practice, I felt awake. Like it served as an eye opener, like, wow, I really needed that rest because when I got back, I felt like everything was better. The improvement was happening again. So, have any of you ever gone through that, honestly? Like where you feel like, you're just going down and down and down every time you go to practice, like, you're just getting worse and worse. If that's happening, then that's probably the sign that you just need to take a break because you're just trying too hard and you're bowling too much. So yeah, that's what's definitely what was happening to me. So here we are now, and I can honestly say things are a lot better. I'm not going to try to spoil it here, but yeah, things definitely are a lot better. Much bigger improvement. You guys are probably going to notice it. But the one thing I will say is I did the spares. Definitely, I did not trust myself with my spares, so I definitely got to go back and work on that. You're going to see exactly why. But yeah, there's not very much else I can say, so I guess what we're going to go ahead and roll the clip and see how we did. Okay, everybody, here we go. Week number 4 on lanes 13 and 14. So, allow me to explain the ball choices for this night. Obviously, as you saw, I decided to pack urethane, even though I felt 100% confident that I probably was not going to need it. So, then the next ball in the bag was the nuclear cell. That's my ball to fall back on in case something bad happens. And, like I said, I end up going back down in that pit and I can't get myself out. I feel like the nuclear cell can help me get out. And then the trend 2. I took that ball to practice and just to see, because I never actually got the chance to test it on this changed house shot of theirs. And I could see that it was handling this new house shot really, really well. It acted like it had teeth on it, if you know what I mean. Like it wasn't acting like a car on ice, struggling to get grip. it gripped at the lane really, really well. It was my eyes were easily able to process what that ball was still doing, despite the changes that they made to the house shot. And I'm like, dude, I gotta take this ball to league with me. It's handling this changed house shot really good. So that's why I decided to start off with that ball, because at the 10 minutes of practice, I had a really, things were looking good. So there I go with my first shot with the Trend 2. I got it too far to the right, fell off balance there. Honestly, I don't know why that happens to me. Like, in the 10 minutes of practice, obviously, we use that to warm up, to test out bowling balls, and even though I felt like I was warmed up, it's still, that first shot, I don't know why. I felt like, that feeling of when you're taking your first shot. I don't know how to explain it, but that was literally what happened, even though I had already had 10 minutes of practice. Really weird. But yeah, there I go, picking up the 2 and the 8. No problem at all. Done and dusted. You see what I mean? It still curves real good down lane. It doesn't, respond too late, which is something that I thought it was going to do, because remember, the ball does kind of have that pearl kind of finish on it. And nope, it still reads at the right time. It still acts like, it defies whatever changes they made to the house shot, and I really like that. One of the big things that made me decide to want to take this ball was how if I missed too far to the right, it recovered, like you guys just saw with that first shot. If I missed left, it didn't really hold as much, but still, the main thing was that, the ball, it curved a lot down lane, despite the fact that they added more oil up the middle of the lane. So yeah, that first shot, I lined up on 22 and a half. That bad form that I got right there, that contributed to me getting it too far to the right. Paid for it with an 8 spare to start, and here we are in the second now. It's a whole hell of a lot better right there. Look at that. You see that? Beautiful. Pretty good through the approach. Form was a little bit speed seemed a little slow, but the shot was still great, struck real well. But from my point of view, it seemed like it was just a little left of target, but it made it. That's what matters. Pretty good form, good delivery, but did seem a little left of target, and the speed again was looking a little bit slow. Okay, so for this 3-6-10 spare, I went at it with a little bit of a different approach this time. Usually what I do is I stand on 12 and a half, but this time I decided to go a little bit more straighter up the boards, if that makes any sense. Kind of like if I were playing urethane, down and in, as you could see right there. But this time I decided to try to convert this spare standing on like 7.5, so I would make the ball go much more directly up the lane, because obviously now that there is more oil, especially on the sides, I felt like the ball would make it there. Usually I don't do it this way because I'm afraid that the ball will hook a little bit and I'll end up only taking out the 3-pin. But as you can see there, it did work, but it didn't work out in the later on in the video, and you guys are gonna see what I'm talking about. That's nice. Beautifully done. That's the way it should be. Left of target off my hand. I knew it. I was hoping it would have some hold, but it didn't, and there we go with another 3-6-10. So this is exactly what I was talking about. Like I said, I tried to stand on 7.5, going a little more directly up that right side of the lane. And you can see right there, that's what I was talking about. I could only take out the 3 and the 6. I ended up leaving the 10 because the ball did get kind of in between the 3 and the 6, but more towards the 3. And as a result, the way it hit, it ended up wrapping around the 10, I think is what I saw the 6 do. And that right there made me realize, okay, I can't convert the 3-6-10 like this. I need to get more left. And the reason I decided to go about it like that in the first place was because I think last week, you guys saw what happened. I missed the 3, I think, and the ball just didn't bother to even curve a little bit. It just kept going dead straight, and I missed the 3. Or I think that's what happened. I can't remember too much, but yeah, my concern was that would happen again, and that's why I decided to move more to the right to try to convert this spare. Yeah, again, usually, like I said, when I go for the 3-6-10, you'll usually find me standing on 12 and a half. And I realized maybe that's where I should stand. But before I did that, I actually decided that if I leave the 3-6-10 again, I'm going to move to board, I'm going to line up on 10 to see if that'll work. But another great shot right there. After, I didn't let that open get to me at all. A little bit messed up on the form, but pretty good shot. And yeah, you see me, I went like that because I saw that 10. It was the last one to go, but I thought, you know what? It all worked out in the end. We're good. Looked like I eased up on like the swing there. Did you see that? Looked like my approach seemed a little slower too. It looked like I eased up on the swing, and you could see the ball kind of got up there with a pretty decent speed. But you know what? Hey, again, it worked out. I was lucky that that one worked out. I don't know. I felt like I was in I was in the backswing a little too long. Form obviously fell off on there. A little better. Got it too far to the right, and you can see there, I knew it too far to the right, and I got a light hit. But now you see what I mean about the trend 2 having that recovery if I get too far to the right. Some of the other bowling balls that I used in the past don't have that. This one does. And the last shot in the 10th. That one, I will say, the shot was a bit slower and just a pinch left of target. But you know what? We started off on a really good one. 233, I believe, to start this thing off. Great way to go. All right, so here we go. Game number 2, starting off on the right lane this time. So for that one, I didn't know it until it got down the lane that I realized I got it too far to the right, and I was lucky that it even got back. But I wasn't going to get lucky a second time. Got it too far to the right, came back for a light hit, but I left the 10 this time. Alright, so for this 10-pin spare, I changed up my strategy on how to pick it up just recently. What I decided to do was move a little bit more to the right because you see, one of the things that I do in order to be able to pick up this 10-pin consistently is to try to get it in between these two arrows right here so that it would just go up and to the 10-pin. So I used to stand somewhere on, let me see, 20, 25, 30, 30. I used to stand on 32 and a half to be able to pull that off. But lately I've been missing standing in that spot. So what I did was I tried moving a little more to the right. And this time, instead of being on 32 and a half, I moved now to 30. I think that's 30. Let me see. 20, 25. Yeah, I'm now lining up on board 30 to be able to pick this up so that I could get the ball perfectly in between these two arrows because I realized standing on 32 and a half, it's going kind of more over this arrow right here. And that's not really what I want. It's kind of difficult for me. It's just a mental thing. So that is what I've been doing lately. And as you can see, it worked out pretty well. And it was left of target, and I didn't know it immediately. You could see I got up on it, and like when it got halfway down the lane. That's when I realized, oh, left of target, that's a bad shot. All right, so remember what I said about the 3-6-10? Well, after what happened, I decided to move to board number 10 and see if that would work. And as you could see, it didn't. So I thought, okay, you know what? I clearly cannot attack the 3-6-10 this way or like playing from the furthest to the right. So I thought I should probably just move back to my original spot. That spot being 12 and a half. Okay guys, so after that shot that I threw on the left lane where I got left of my target with the trend 2, I thought to myself, okay, I need to make a ball change to the nuclear cell. Not because I got too far to the right on this right lane and then I missed left of target on this left lane. It wasn't because of that. It was because I started to have doubt on myself over being able to release that trend 2 onto the lane properly, if you know what I mean. Because you see, the thing about the trend 2 with that pin above the bridge layout that I have on it, I have to do something a little bit differently with my hand. And that makes it kind of tricky for me to be able to release the ball consistently. Let me show you. Okay, guys, so here we have my beloved nuclear cell with the pin above the ring finger layout. So this is what I have to do when I put my fingers into the holes of the bowling ball. I put my fingers in and I lay my hand flat just like that, like normal, right? Nothing weird, right? Perfectly normal. But when I have a bowling ball with a pin above the bridge layout like this, pin above the bridge, well, that's technically kind of over the middle finger, but anyway, yeah, when I have a layout like this where it's kind of above the bridge and the mass bias is over to the right like this is what I have to do in order to be able to get the ball to flare properly and to be able to curve down lane. I put my fingers into the holes and then I do this. See that? I have to turn my hand to the right like that. Because if I don't do this and I were to put my hand into the ball normally like this, for some odd reason, the ball will end up flaring over the finger holes and then it will not curve when it gets down lane. I don't know why this happens. Even if I get my hand perfectly behind the ball, it still will end up flaring over the finger holes and it won't curve. You can expect for this to happen if you were to release the ball with too much side rotation, if you get too much up the side of the ball. But for me, even if I get my hand perfectly behind the ball, it still flares over the finger holes. So this is what I do to be able to get around that. I turn my hand like that so that my hand stays behind the ball from the beginning of the swing to the back swing to the release. And for some odd reason, doing that, the ball, it flares properly. Like it actually, and you'll actually see when it gets down lane, as you guys were seeing, the ball was making its way down lane and it curved. And this is what I have to do in order to be able to get that to happen. And you'll see when the ball comes back to the ball return, you'll see the lines of oil here on the left side of the this middle finger hole instead of over the fingers. So every bowling ball that I have with a pin above the bridge layout like this, 60 by 5.5 by 60, in this case, this is like 75 by something by whatever. Most of my bowling balls with the pin above the bridge layout are 60 by 5.5 by 60. But the point is, every bowling ball that I have with this layout on it, I have to do that. And it does feel weird, and I haven't fully gotten comfortable with it. And because of that, I do sometimes have a tendency to get up the side of the ball, and it ends up getting too much side rotation. So I can't necessarily nail the same release time and time again. So that's why I started feeling that after that shot in the second frame. I started thinking to myself, I don't think I'm going to be able to, get consistent with my release. So I started to have doubts. So I felt like the safest thing to do was to switch to my beloved nuclear cell because obviously, as I said, all I have to do is this. And that right there is 100% comfortable for me. I never have any problems with it. I know for a fact that with my hand in the ball like this, I can nail the same release 10 times out of 10. So, yeah, I felt like, you know what, we need to play it safe. And, it's weird how a pin above the ring finger and the mass bias over to the right, this doesn't happen. But with the pin above the bridge, it does. It's just a really weird mystery to me. But if any of you guys are having that problem where you have a pin above the bridge layout and your ball just doesn't curve and then you see one line of oil and it's over the fingers, try that. Turn your hand right like that, and then try letting go of the ball and see if it suddenly starts to flare properly and it curves. But anyway, yeah, that's why I decided to make a ball change. Not because I was like, oh great, here I go making bad shots, and I'm using a ball, changing to a different ball to try to fix my problem. No, that's not what was going on. It was just particularly that. Okay, so anyway, back to the video. Sorry to take up a lot of time explaining that to you, but I felt like it was necessary. So anyway, here we go. Up on the right lane now, third frame, I believe. Making the ball change to the nuclear cell, playing it safe, like I said. Yeah, for that, I believe I lined up on 22.5, same thing as the trend 2. And that one right there, I fell off because I felt like I lost the ball at the release. Like I felt like it slipped off my hand, but luckily still struck. But I don't know if I'm ever going to get lucky like that again. All right, on the left lane now. Okay. It struck. 10 pin almost stayed there, but I stood up on it because the release was so very wrong. I'm not sure if you guys could notice it, but I got up the side of it. If I had the Trend 2 in my hand with that pin above the bridge layout, it probably wouldn't have curved. It probably would have flared over the finger holes. See that? Way too much up the side of it right there. And I stood up on it because I felt it off my hand like, uh-oh, got too much up the side of it. It's probably not going to curve. But luckily it did. All right, I think this is frame number 5 now. Really nice. But as you can see there, the ball curved a little bit more, and I noticed that. And I thought to myself, maybe the lane is getting just a little bit dry because the speed didn't seem too slow. It seemed to actually... I want to say maybe the same as it's been, but yeah, obviously that 4-pin leave is kind of like had me thinking that, okay, maybe I got to make a small adjustment. So yeah, during one of my practice sessions this past week, I was missing a lot of 4-pin spares and a lot of 7-pin spares, and because of that, I started to doubt myself, so I didn't want to use my spare ball to, if I left any 4s, if I left any 7s, or any 8s, I didn't want to pick up my spare ball because I just, felt like I wasn't, I didn't want to risk it. I felt like I was going to miss it. So that right there, it tells you that I need to go back and practice my 4-pin spares, my 8-pin spares, my 7-pin spares. Definitely going to keep practicing my 10-pin spares to make sure they're still up to code. But yeah, the fact that I had to pick up my strike ball, man, it just felt like, a little bit embarrassing on my part, because not because I curved at my spare, but the fact that I was doubting myself, that because I felt like I was gonna miss if I picked up my spare ball. So yeah, that's the sign that I definitely got to get back to practicing my spares for sure. All right, so I don't know, I don't remember what I was thinking exactly. All I can remember is that I did stay on 22.5 on this left lane because I thought, well, there's no way that whatever happened on the right lane could also happen on this left lane. So I stuck with that same plan on the left lane, and as you can see, it curved a little more too, so I thought, okay, I gotta move left on this lane as well. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I did try to go for it, but that right there was just a horrible attempt, and I ended up losing the count. Fell a little bit off of my form there, but luckily it struck. So I forgot to mention, even though you guys can clearly see that I put it there, I moved to 23 to see if that was enough of a move, and I did the same thing on this left lane after what happened. And I was hoping to God that whatever happened on that right lane would happen on this left lane too. Fell off balance, got it too far to the right. I stuck. I felt it too, like immediately. I kind of came to like a pretty quick stop, and that's why I ended up just pushing that ball out too far to the right. So yeah, that's another split on this left lane. The thought did go through my mind that I'm going to try to make this, but clearly that was just a very terrible attempt at trying to convert that. Yeah, kind of got up on that one once I realized I got it too far to the right, but luckily this nuclear cell, just like the Trend 2, has recovery if I got it too far to the right. And I think part of what contributes to that is the fact that we changed the surface on this ball. I don't know if I mentioned this about the nuclear cell already, but it used to have 1500 grit polish on it. But a couple weeks ago, I actually took it to the shop to have all the oil taken out of it. So yeah, we put it in the machine, got all the oil out, and my PSO changed it from 1500 up to 4000. I asked him when he said 4000, like 4000 what? He just said no, it's just called 4000. So I don't know what that means. I want to, like, I was thinking, did he change it to 4,000, like going towards more surface or what? But he just said, no, that's just what it's called. It's called 4,000. 4,000 nothing. So yeah, I definitely feel like that 4,000 finish that he put on it, it definitely is playing a small part in why that ball is able to recover, because it definitely looks a lot less shinier, and it's definitely grabbing at the lane a lot better. So I'm actually kind of glad that he did that. See what I mean? Looks pretty early. Looks like it really grips at the lane and curves really nicely. Yeah, that one I felt like I didn't, like, I kind of messed up my release just a little bit, but at the same time, from my point of view, when I was throwing that shot, I could see that I did get it a little bit to the right. Lining up on 30 for this, and it's still working out quite nicely. I feel like picking up my 10 pins is a lot easier now that I'm lining up on 30. Alright, so final game of the night, and that sucks that we ended that game 2 with 177, but what can you do? Move on. That's what you can do. Never want to let that get to you, because it will affect your game. Very nice. And as you can see, we got a high hit, and from that, let me see. I still was on 23 for that. For me, personally, I remember thinking that the shot did seem pretty good, but it went high, obviously, and I thought to myself, okay, next time I'm on this left lane, I'm going to move a half a board. So we're going to 23 and a half and see how that would work the next time. So here I go, playing it safe again, hooking at my spare. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Alright, so on that shot, I watched my ball, and it looked like it hit a dry spot when it got down the lane, and as a result, another high hit. So I thought to myself, okay, well, looks like we're going to have to make a move on this right lane as well. Kind of crazy how they're both acting like sort of the same, because on that left lane, I felt like there wasn't a dry spot, but for some reason, the ball just decided to go high. And then on this right lane, there was I could clearly see that the ball hit a small little spot there that caused the ball to hook a little early. All right, I believe this is frame number 3 now. Nicely done. So with that shot on the left lane, I did feel like immediately like I may have eased up on my power, because that ball looked like it traveled a little slower up the lane. But you know what? It all worked. It struck, and that's what matters. All right, on the right lane now. So I made that same adjustment like I did on the left lane onto this right lane, 23 and a half. And it worked out as well. However, I did see something when the ball hit the pins. It looked like it was just gonna go high. I felt like just a little bit less speed, and it probably would have given me another high hit to the point where I would have left another 4. Kind of messed up on my form a little bit there. With that one, I felt like I got it a bit to the right, but luckily it recovered. Fell off balance there. And that one, now that I think about it, it did seem just a little bit left. And it did have a bit of hold, obviously, because if I'd have gotten it left, then technically it should have probably gone through the nose. But there was some hold there. Enough to get it to the pocket, but 9 pin. I mean, I swear, I thought that the shot looked good from where I was standing. But, you know, looking at it from this point of view, it actually does look like I got it a bit left of my target. So that shot you couldn't really see because the guy got in the way, but with that shot, I definitely saw that I got it just a bit left. And luckily, it did hold enough to make it to the pocket, but not to get that proper pocket hit. So yeah, definitely leaving a lot of 4 pins here, so definitely getting a lot of high pocket hits. So yeah, with that one, I actually felt like that was a bad shot. I didn't really know it immediately off my hand, but I could see when it got like past the arrows that I didn't really launch the ball out there like I wanted it to. It did seem a bit left, but not as left as it was before when I was on this right lane. That seemed like a good one.
Oh, what the hell?
But the messenger chose not to help me out there. Yeah, that really hurt to see. The fact that the messenger shot across and just didn't even bother to hit the 10. Like you saw the top of the pin just hits the wall and then just stops. That hurts. But one thing I did see was how the ball, the way it entered the pocket, it looked like it wanted to continue with too much angle, like if I were to leave a 9 pin. But, as you can see, it took everything out but the 10, and then I ended up missing the 10. And as a result, I messed up my score, but luckily, I knew that if I could at least get like a mark in the 10th, I could put myself en route to get another 200 game. Okay, we've made it to the 10th frame. Alright, so with that one, I could see that it hit that dry spot again. And this time, I believe I was still standing in 23 and a half. I had not made a move whatsoever. So with that one, I knew it looked like a good shot, but it hit that dry spot, and it curved a little more. And instead of a 4, I got that. Alright, so for this last shot, I made the move to 24 just to see what would happen. Seemed a little much to the right, and I 10-pin, but what's done is done. I managed to close it out with, I believe that's a 203. So we managed to get our first 600 series of this league. Okay, so that is a wrap on week number 4. Much, much bigger improvement compared to last week. Game 1, we got a 233. Game 2, we went a little bit downhill with the splits. Costing us, and we got 177. Could have been worse, but luckily it stayed at 177, with Game 3 closing out at 203. And that made for a total of 613. Compared to last week's series total being 552. The series required to raise the average was 577, and I believe that's the same as last week. I'm not sure, but obviously we eclipsed that, and now the pin total after week 4 is 2,316. After 12 games played, that raises my average from 189.22 all the way up to 193. My highest game remains 256 from week 1, whilst my highest series goes from 580 to now what is 613. So that's real nice to see. Also, I looked at the paper for the league standings, and I noticed how much of a struggle this new pattern is. I mean, I obviously knew about how much of a struggle it was going to be for everybody, but like seeing that now the highest average in this league is 200 blows my mind. Like even Gary Gardner, who had a 222 average, he's now sitting at like a 180 something. And here I am with a 193, so that's insane. That goes to show you how much tougher this new house shot is. The fact that the highest average is now 200 in this league. It's not 215, it's not 220, it's not 230, it's 200. So we're definitely, a lot of us are fighting here, but you know what? This is the challenge that everybody didn't know that they needed, because I've heard a lot of people leaving comments and letting me know that they had their house shot changed because scores were getting out of hand. And that's why I believe that they decided to do this change to the house pattern in this house. So yeah, it's a change that needed to happen. And, I agree with it because you guys saw what I did in the summer league. I was shooting a lot of 600s. The 700s started to appear a lot more often than not. Even on days where I felt like I bowled terribly, I was still able to at least manage like 620 or more. So that was a sign that this stuff was getting too easy. I was making like quite a bit of runs at 300. I'm pretty sure. I don't know how many, probably like two or three. So yeah, this needed to happen. The difficulty level needed to be raised. So and it definitely has. So anyway, I'm Frank the Tank. Hope you guys enjoyed that week 4 performance. And I look forward to seeing what happens in week number 5. But until then, we wait. So I'll see you guys then.